Welcome.
In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive.
Why do you still have the banner up?
I wasn't cued to take it away. A little slow. Monday. You know, Mondays. Am I right? Andy, how was your weekend?
I had my Bluetooth hooked up to my phone too, so that was overtaking me and I couldn't hear anything you said.
How was your weekend?
Well, I still can't hear you. What the hell is going on? Well, you just keep talking while Andy figures out why.
All right. Well, my weekend could have been better. Obviously, our Ravens.
Can other people hear Drew? I'm sure. Probably just me.
Hopefully. I'm going to have to edit this out.
Interesting episode. I'm just going to have to lip read. Happy Monday to everyone in the chat. Seen some good questions already. Happy Monday. He did ask how my weekend. Oh, my weekend was good. I thought it snowed a little, but not too much. And football was fun. We had 3 competitive games, and then also the Rams played. Truthfully, I said this earlier to someone. I didn't think the Cleveland game was going to be competitive all of a sudden. We had some I don't know what happened to Mahomes. I don't know who caused that.
It could have been anyone. It was the Chiefs social media intern who was out there pumping up Dirty Dan and being excited about that very obviously illegal play. Can you hear me now? You're still.
No, I can hear
you. Oh, you can't hear
me. No,
me.
I can hear you.
All right. Well, let's go beginning to end. I think I obviously, like, my weekend was fine overall. It was fun. It was beautiful here in Southern California. We're getting summer in January. I think it was like 80 degrees, 80 something, and hot in the sun on Saturday. Yeah, it was full on summertime here, and surf's been pretty good too. A little offshore wind. It's been pretty nice. Would have liked the Ravens win, obviously, not to be. That was a fun run, but it's over. That one turned on a dime more so. Yeah, we'll have a lot of thoughts on that. We'll get to it. I didn't think the quality of football was as high as I had anticipated or hoped, really.
No, there was we said this last week. We said we'd lost a bunch of the bad coaches. We weren't going to have to deal with some bad coaching decisions, and yet I thought we still had some bad coaching decisions. Obviously, it's really tough to ask somebody to go for a 4th and 8 that deep in their own end or their side of the field. But the fact that you wasted a timeout on a bad challenge and another one earlier, the fact that you had one timeout, it kind of forced your hand, and the Browns never saw the ball again. So, real tough. I think in either case, you got to stop Kansas City from getting a first down. It's a lot worse if they're on your side of the field. But man, the way they'd been playing the whole second half, I guess, was kind of indicative of what was going to happen. Some of the plays they were calling when they were down, it's like, are they reading the scoreboard wrong? These running plays up the middle and these little screens that are going nowhere on the side to the running back.
Targeting Chubb.
These are targeting Chubb at all later. So, it's some of the play calling there leading up to that was trash, but I would have gone for the 4th. I would have gone for the 4th and 8 just because of the fact that I only had one timeout. I think with 3 timeouts, I'm fine punting that away, but with one timeout, it makes it a lot more of a 50-50 call for me. So
we're all out of order here, but I agree with you. I would have gone for it, but not for a lot of the reasons you mentioned. It's pretty clear that leading up to that 4th and long, the play calling on that drive was suspect in general. But that specific decision, if you don't make it, who cares? You've taken some of the aggressiveness out of Kansas City's court, right? They are more likely to settle for run field goal attempt because they're in field goal range, right? And even worst case scenario, if you give up a touchdown there, you at least get the ball back. And then you have to score a touchdown and get the onside kick at least. The only way that you never see the ball again is by punting it away. Like in the array of outcomes, the only way you don't get the ball, by punting it away, you're pretty much guaranteeing that. And
yeah, I mean, it's like when they let Gurley score. And,
yeah.
That's a fringe case because of the fact that they somehow managed to win that game. But that was it. Like, if Gurley goes down, you lose the game, or the game is over.
Yeah,
Whereas,
you carry him into the end zone, escort the guy into the end zone, though. And, it's a different story. Anyway, that we'll get to a little more detail of that. I didn't like the decision. 4 minutes left in the game. And honestly,
really not setting yourself up for a shorter for a fourth down was the play. Right. I mean, the play calling was the real, punting on 4th and 8 wasn't a problem. It was a result of a problem.
And you want to be a little more, reflective. If you can't stop Chad Henne when you have him 3rd and 14 with the game on the line, then you don't deserve to win, I guess, is really what it comes down to. Yeah, that was that, and honestly, like the 4th down call, Andy Reid being aggressive and, the throw to Tyreek Hill, like, calling a throw, like the way they set it up, the arc was beautiful. The fact that they even needed to do that, though, was, that was a little bit of a bailout. The fact that they were even 3rd and 14 was a little bit of a bailout. The fact that Henne scrambled for 13.5 yards was a little bit of a lucky play for them. But that was a wild game. We'll get to that one. But let's start with Green Bay, who kicked off the festivities divisional weekend with a home thumping of the LA Rams. The most commonly, I guess, way of framing this on the way into the game was, Jalen Ramsey versus Devontae Adams, and is Aaron Donald going to matter? And this is the toughest defense Green Bay has faced. And Green Bay never really looked uncomfortable offensively in the entire game. They scored 32 points. 32. And it didn't look all that efforting. It didn't really look too effortful. It wasn't that tough for them to get to 32 in this game. They had a couple of big plays in the second half, the big run by Aaron Jones, big pass play to Allen Lazard. But the fact that they were able to hit home runs in that game when they needed them is a testament to good coaching, good preparation. Rams were, they were a little out of their league, I thought. It didn't seem that close. What did you think?
There was a tweet. Yeah, there was a tweet that I saw that, and this was pre-game. This may have been even during the week. And I had to agree with it early on. And it said, and this is probably what kept me, and the line movement. If you miss the number on the Rams, there's no sense taking the Rams at like +6.5. So someone said, I don't know if it's Ben Baldwin or someone in that whole realm, basically just said, I don't know, man. I think a really good offense is just going to beat a really bad a really good offense beats a really good defense anytime. It's still, it's still just that kind of league, the way the rules have changed, the way these teams have drawn up plays, and really, once we got to game time and we started to see what was happening, like Aaron Donald was not 100%. Not only was he not 100%, but they did a good job of taking him out of some of the plays. A couple of the offensive linemen for Green Bay, who I can't name right now, deserve some praise because they did a good job up front. They kept Rodgers fairly clean, and the play calling was just good against it was a really good defense. It was the best defense, left in the playoffs, probably the best defense in the league. And yeah, they put up 32. They hit plays when they needed to. They did it on the ground. They did it in the air. The effortfulness. And not only that, but he spread the ball around. Yeah, Adams had 9 catches, a lot of short stuff. I think his longest catch was like 20 yards. But they as they are wont to do, they did pass it around quite a bit to Scantling, Lazard. Lazard with the long catch, I think, ended up being the leader. and then the long run. So I didn't have a lot of takeaway from Green Bay. I mean, it's kind of what you expected from them, isn't it?
Let's reflect on the market a little. Market was very hot on the Rams.
Yeah.
All week. That thing was bet one way. Not a lot of support for Green Bay in this one. And the market support for the Rams was the wrong side. Period. Fair price on this was north of 7. I think is pretty clear. Similarly, the market was hot on the under here. Bet this total down all week. It went one way, down. That was the wrong side. Jared Goff was fine. His thumb might have been broken and had surgery on it 14, 12 days prior, whatever it was. But he looked fine in the cold weather. And it was, the offense for the Rams didn't have much imagination. They didn't really, they couldn't make a couple of, they were fragile in that every key mistake they made cost them big time, right? A sack. Goff gets sacked once. It was like game. Kenny Clark got a sack on a second down at one point when the Rams were down. They were kind of within sniffing distance. And it was like, oh, okay, well, now it's third and infinity. Like they have no hope. There was a very clear stealing on the Rams offense. And that prevented them really from being in this game. Lowest total on the board at the close, only game that went over. That is kind of fun.
And the injury stuff, as we've seen time and time again, not just in the playoffs, but in regular season games too, the injury stuff was all over. And you read one person's report, you read Dr. Chow, you read Dr. Who, you read Dr. Everybody. They all have opinions on this, and nobody was right. I was wrong. I thought of everybody like Kupp. Oh, it's just a bruise. He'll be fine. Like that seemed like an overreaction on last Sunday, where Kupp should be fine. And then I thought for sure, like Donald, they'll just shoot him up. He'll be fine if he does. If he says he's going to play hard. He was ineffective. And for real, I was pretty sketched out by that thumb. And I'm going into the game, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if he looks awful. And he looked just fine.
Like yeah.
I mean, he looked Goff fine. He looked fine for Jared Goff, but his numbers weren't terrible either. So
100%.
The injury stuff was all over, and I guess maybe the market was reacting to some of that. And
were there any meaningful injuries for Green Bay in this game, or did they come out of this relatively healthy?
I think they were pretty healthy. I'm gonna have to double check on that.
Okay. I thought they were pretty healthy too. The replacement for David Bakhtiari, he was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the offensive line played pretty
all
well.
of the reasons, all of the handicapping that went into that game, I felt like all of it went out the window. There really wasn't much that I thought ultimately that was said, that was postulated about the game really mattered. Green Bay was a better team. They played better offensively and they won. They move on. They host the NFC title game. Let's talk about Saturday night, where
Saturday night.
I obviously don't have a super clear head on this because I was so emotionally invested in the Ravens doing well. I feel like in hindsight, if they win the coin toss and are going the other way in the first and third quarter, with the ball first in the third quarter, the game probably is the exact opposite outcome.
Or at least a close game.
Or at least a close game. Justin Tucker missing field goals in the first half still burns my ass. You play it differently if you're up 9-3 at halftime.
Did
that
you look at the
hurts.
box score?
No, I did, and it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. I don't
like that. They play this game 10 times in normal conditions. It's probably 6-4 Ravens. Credit to the Bills. They played well. Credit to the balls on that guy for taking it out of the end zone. Like you should absolutely just kneel on that. 9 times out of 10, you're ending up inside the 20. You're looking at the whole offensive line in front of you, and there's other positional players. And it turned on that. missing a couple field goals. And
Yeah.
the Bills missed.
I mean,
field
I was
goal
frustrated
too.
on that play in general because I've watched it a bunch, man. If Lamar runs that instead of throws, which he did a lot during the regular season, he gets that in the end zone and it's 10-10 instead of 17-3. It was a terrible decision to throw. The safety was literally playing for the throw. It was kind of like the Malcolm Butler interception at the end of the Patriots Seahawks game. Like Butler made the decision. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to go there, right? Yep. And that was, and he knew it, and he was correct. He guessed right, and that was the difference. It felt similar. The safety made the decision. He's going to try to go to Andrews. I'm going to bait him that I'm the spy, but I'm going to drop back into coverage. And he was right there for it. Took it to the house. It was tough. And Lamar Jackson then getting hurt obviously wasn't great. Take any potential chance away that they were going to make a comeback.
Huntley didn't look terrible, but he was obviously. It's not the same. It's not the same thing.
I mean, if you honestly,
kudos to Tyler Huntley for coming in and playing as well as he did.
Yeah, he looked. Yeah, he's a good backup for you going forward. He is a good backup. You don't need to worry about bringing RG3 back. You don't need to worry about Trace McSorley. Huntley is your backup going forward if you're the Baltimore Ravens. And similarly, if you had a Ravens teaser leg, sure looked like it was going to get there. It sure looked like it. It sure looked like it. That was tough. And then similarly, we were at some point when it was clear the Ravens were not going to survive in advance, I was ready to see them lose by the largest margin. And of course, Bass missed that freaking gimme field goal that would have made it a 17-point game, and we wouldn't be in the position right now of a chop. But I don't even know if 14 or 17, either of those going to hold. I mean, there's only 3 games left, but
I would, as tightly as the last 3 games will be lined. Yes, I think.
You think it holds? Really?
I say it's 60-40 that it holds. I think it's more likely it holds than it doesn't. I'm not hopeful, but yeah, I think it holds. So yeah, Ravens were a little disappointing. Patrick just hit this in the chat. They were inside the 35 times. They got not very many points. The fewest points in the entire playoffs, I think, because the Bears were able to score 9 even last week.
Very frustrating
for Pizzola. Yeah, frustrating game. Kudos to the Bills, though. They played well against a good defense. The Ravens defense actually played really well. Like, there's a couple of defenses that took it in the shorts because of their offense this week, and it would be the Ravens and the Saints. I thought both of those defenses played up. It may not look like it on the scoreboard when you look that Tampa Bay scored 30, but those touchdown drives for Tampa Bay were super short. So rough all around. Yeah, Ravens teaser leg not getting there was pretty ugly, but we move on, and yeah, we just we move on and start handicapping what the Bills look like against Mr. Henney.
Yeah. What did you think again? So then going back to Chiefs Browns, I guess sorry. Let's before moving off the Bills. Josh Allen, they asked him to do some things in this game that weren't really in his strength. The Ravens defended them well. The Ravens defense had been playing well. They were giving him the very short and the far, and he was often trying to make the deep throws work, but the weather was not going to let it happen. I didn't think Allen played especially well in that game. I thought he overall looked nervous, looked uncomfortable. And I thought John Brown was probably their MVP on offense. He made some really tough catches that moved the ball, moved the chains for them a couple important times, high leverage, important times in that game. I thought the offensive line did really well. The Bills' offensive line played excellent in pass pro. The Ravens, they were like a step late, 2 steps late, a bunch when they could have made a difference. Allen gets an Oscar for the flop on the roughing the passer penalty for sure.
That was a bad one.
And I don't know. I guess overall, I think if there were a lot of people heading into that game, a common handicapping narrative I heard was, well, the Ravens just scored 20 against the terrible Titans defense. Like, how are they going to do well against the Bills? Right. I don't think you can say The Ravens only scoring 3 tells you much, other than it was fluky. And the Bills' defenses they played up, and I don't think you can say that the Bills only scoring 10 points of offense in this one means much in a forward sense either. Would you agree? There's still the Bills offense that we know, which is top 5 clearly in the NFL, that is capable of scoring 30 points on you on a given day. I don't think you can take away, well, the offense just scored 10 points against the Ravens last week. How are they going to go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs this week? Like, no way. Like, I don't think that's a realistic handicapping angle, is it?
Yeah, windy game, tough defense, and the Ravens defense played well. They gave up the 10 points. And granted, yes, it was windy. There's some trouble with the kicking, and maybe Allen didn't have his best day ever. But yeah, it's an offense that can do what they've done the past couple weeks. What you saw a few times during especially the second half of the regular season. They can light up a 450-yard game pretty quick. And I think you'll probably see more of that. It'll be exciting to see what the weather is. There's a decent chance. I looked ahead, and as much as I bitch about this and rag on you about looking so far ahead at weather, this isn't handicapping. This is Andy getting excited.
Handicapping, okay.
Handicapping. Ooh, trademark. There is a decent chance that we have snow in both games. It's like 50%. Wow. I would love that. That would be my dream championship weekend, having snow in both championship games.
Keep the margins at like 3 points.
Yeah, 3-0 both games. No, that'd be awful. But no, I think it'd be a lot of fun if we did have snow in both games. So looking forward, that's what I'm excited about. And again, I'm giving you credit. I'm the one who looked up the Gaelic, how to say happy birthday in Gaelic, and he's just like, thanks, Drew.
Shane, that was Andy. Andy is on that.
Yeah. I can't say it out loud. I don't speak Gaelic. That's a complicated word, but he did have a question too, and maybe we'll get to this. We'll get to this.
Oh yeah, we'll get to these in a second.
We'll get the hedging questions. I think we'll get to after we run through the weekend.
The trick with hedging always make sure your hedge bet is equally likely to be a plus EV play. Don't just hedge for the sake of it. You want to make it plus EV play. That is the name of the game. Okay, so Chiefs Browns Sunday. Number one, how painful was it to get to noon on Sunday for kickoff?
2:00
your time. How painful was that?
It took forever.
Man, that was so tough.
My wife doesn't know what time games are, and hopefully she's at work right now. Hopefully she doesn't watch the recap of this one. But I was thinking, I'm like, God, I could just tell her the game starts at 11 and just go to the office and just watch Netflix and get just. But I mean, it was pretty peaceful. Well, I didn't want to do chores and stuff. I didn't want to have to get roped into a project. So I did some anything to take your mind off it. It felt like Christmas. Like you're trying to kill time.
Long wait.
I mean, I made some marinara sauce. I cooked up some other stuff. I worked a little around the house and just said, well, all right, I'm gonna get ready and I'm just gonna go watch basketball. So I am impatient in general, and we're gonna have to be even more patient this week because we don't even get Saturday games.
Okay. So it took a long time. The game finally got there, and out of the gate, the Browns decided to defer the coin toss, and it seemed like a mistake. Right? Kansas City came out, they had the script, it was sharp, and they just went right down the field. Score the touchdown, Bucker missed the extra point, 6-0 hole before you blink, right? And it's like, okay, well, this is going to be a long day. And they come back. You think Baker Mayfield maybe has a little nerves. He's on the road. There's a crowd. This isn't a 28-0 we spotted to a lead type of spot. He's going to have to get it done him damn self. He looked great. He was cool. He moved the ball. He matriculated well. They run into a little bit of issue from the Chiefs D makes a couple plays. They knock down a sack. Take them into field goal, and it's like, okay. Answering Mahomes touchdown drives with field goals, this is not going to go well. But the Chiefs hung in there, and down 16-3 as the first half is winding to a close.
The waning moments.
The waning moments of the first half. The Browns put together. Actually, wait a second. Even before going there, the Browns did a decent job, I thought, of keeping the Chiefs from hitting home runs, scoring like insanely fast. Like they made the Chiefs kind of do
adjustment after the first drive.
drives. Yeah, they made them do some more efficient driving. They stopped them in the red zone a couple times. And then they got the ball back with a chance to make it a 6-point game and drove the field effectively. Baker Mayfield made some very sharp passes. He made great reads of the defense. His players caught the ball when it was hitting them in the hands, which was not always the case when you're a young team in a big moment like that. They played great, and they drive the field. Higgins with the chance to score the game, a half, big momentum swinging touchdown that would have closed it to 1-score game at halftime, gets hit in the helmet head to head. It was a very unfortunate play from a lot of standpoints. The refs do not call a penalty.
So
he fumbled it through the end zone.
Yeah, full timeout. Everyone knows the play. And that's something we never did get answered. So if you call a personal foul before the play is blown dead,
sure,
you retain possession, correct?
Yes.
I would think so. I remember somebody brought it up and then it just never got answered.
I brought it up before we went live because I didn't want to say something stupid.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
the rule correct. I still don't know the answer to this.
So yeah, I think if the play is dead, he's already fumbled through the end zone, then they call a personal foul after possession is changed. Obviously, it doesn't change anything, but the play is still occurring. But the only thing is like it was right as he fumbled. And obviously, it's right as he fumbled because he was getting his brain scrambled. That's why he let go of the ball. So I would think if it happened during the play, they would have retained possession. So maybe one of the biggest no calls, especially since it's such a point of emphasis with the league. Like, hey, we're going to call this now. They have been calling it, lowering the helmet, and the fact that it was just straight up helmet to helmet. The fact that it was near the goal line means there's a line judge standing there. Someone is very, very close. And then, they call it in a weird spot in the next game. That's pretty funny. Durso hit that.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe they didn't call it because it did seem pretty blatant.
Blatant. Like that's the right call. That's the right word.
Just straight up helmet to helmet. And, if they had called it, it would have been, I'm guessing, 1st and goal from the 1. So obviously a massive swing if you had a Chiefs tickets didn't catch anyway, but Chiefs teasers, Chiefs money line, Chiefs futures move on. Mm-hmm. But it could have been a very big momentum swing. Even if that's not a real thing, it would have been a very big momentum swing on the scoreboard. So, and obviously that goes the other way. And then they kicked the field goal.
After the Chiefs get the touchback, they drove and kicked a field goal. Yeah. Another, it's So 19-3 at halftime. You think game over?
Not so fast.
Well, they get the ball to start the second half. Baker Mayfield throws an awful pick, but again, the defense stepped up and forced a field goal attempt. Now, to this point, the Chiefs have yet to punt. They haven't punted all game long. They've scored on every single time they've had their hands on the ball, yet they only have 22 points. And Pat Mahomes, for what it was worth, he made some great passes. He made some great decisions. He scrambled and got some key first downs, but he wasn't looking 100% thanks to what I would say was pretty clearly a toe injury of some degree of severity that we don't really know.
Yeah, if anybody saw a tweet or any information on that, because there was so much talk about the obvious, the big injury, the concussion or concussion-like symptoms caused by that tackle. There was very little information on that foot. I don't know if he jammed a toe, if he strained a muscle in his foot, if he just bruised like a foot bone. I'm not sure what happened because we didn't really get clarification on what that injury was. So it'll be interesting to find out what it was. Somebody asked, like, how do you think that's going to be feeling in a week? I don't even know what the injury is. If it, and some people in the chat here are saying turf toe. If it's turf toe, that's not great. Like that affects everything, not just your running, but the way you plant your foot to throw. So
yeah, actually, and I forgot they didn't even make the field goal there. And
No, they missed that field
missed.
goal.
Yeah. And then Baker Mayfield comes back, drives the field, Browns score a touchdown. 19-10. Excuse me, 19-9.
That's
10-point game.
Let me stop you before we kick that extra point, Drew.
Kevin Stefanski kicks the extra point so that he made a two-score game. What the hell was that?
So yeah, I don't see a big difference between being down 9 or 10. I would have gone for 2.
9 or 8.
A lot of Twitter agreed. So going for 2 would have felt like the spot there to get within 8. So I don't know. Yeah, being down by 9 is the same as being down by 10, really, except, if you want to be really going out and talk about, well, if they kick a field goal and a touchdown, that it's only tied, but still, I would love to have the chance to be within 1 score at that point. So yeah, I was pretty surprised they didn't go for 2 there.
Yeah. Okay.
Even as early as it was, people, I've seen some of the talking heads say, "Oh, you don't chase points that early." Like, all you do is chase points. That's the game. The game is to score the most points. Like, get within a score, get within a possession. It seems like yeah,
it's literally insane. Okay, so 1910, Chiefs drive, short third down conversion, up by 9 points. They run Mahomes in I guess that was the right spot to try to call a sneak, but he gets driven into the field, tries to stand up, has Bambi legs.
See, in the moment, I didn't see his head hit. I didn't think he got hit hard in the head. I didn't obviously see the chokehold because of the angle that you're watching the normal games, live from. So when I saw him get up and his leg do that, I thought he tore his knee or some shit. Like, okay. I didn't think at first. I was like, oh no. Like, I thought that leg had given out because he couldn't put weight on that leg. And then eventually you see, like, oh no, he's just woozy as shit. What happened here? So I guess I thought way worst case scenario at first, because you tear a knee up, you're not popping back for the AFC title game. So I don't know if we should devote a whole world of time to all the speculation that the Twitterverse is doing on this one, but I've watched it I'll just say this. I watched it like 500 times. That's a hyperbole, but I don't see how he hit his head that hard. If it's, there's tweets going around that maybe he got choked weird and it made a nerve do something weird and affected made him woozy. That might be a thing. I'm not a doctor. I've never heard of that before. But I can buy it because I don't understand where he would have been concussed. It didn't seem like he hit his head that hard. We'll get the Twitter investigators on it. So be interesting to see if it was just the neck and he pops back. This line is wrong. Neck
injury is that easy to come back from, no problem.
And that's the thing. We don't know. Like, what's this? Somebody just says, "Oh, it's a nerve got pinched in the neck." Well, is that something that, like, when you turn your head too fast and you feel that weird twinge and it hurts for 20 minutes, or is it something that affects you for a month? I'm not doctor.
I ask because I'm curious if he is in the game against the Bills. The 2 key questions are: does the toe limit his ability to scramble? And does one hit affect his availability for the remainder of the game? Right?
Yeah. Is it something that could be re-injured? I don't think a nerve feels like something like that. But if that toe is hurting and he gets hurt real bad and, his foot gets way worse and we see Henny again, which Henny composed himself well, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
He looked fine.
Except for the one god-awful
the punt into the end zone.
All right. So we don't really have a strong feel either way about Mahomes' availability. The market making it 90-10 right now. We'll come back to that as we talk about lines in the openers and the market movement so far. The rest of the game played out not entirely unexpected. The Chiefs drive, get a field goal in that spot. They're up 22-10. There was a couple of plays. There was at least one catch on that drive that was very clearly not a catch that the refs missed. Did you know what I'm talking about? And they moved up and they got the ball snapped before they could challenge. Browns get the ball back. They go 75 yards and 18 plays in an 8-minute drive. And in that, they converted how many fourth downs? I guess just the one. They converted one fourth
Felt
down.
like 5.
It felt like 5. Yeah. The 1 4th down, 4th and 3, the pass to Austin Hooper, which also was very questionably a catch on the replay.
Good snag, but yeah, it was
Good snag, but I think it moved after it hit the ground, which is usually enough for them to say no bueno. But the Browns get a touchdown. And again, they kick the extra point. They're down 5. Again, if they had gone for 2 earlier and gotten it, they could have gone for 2 again and presumably made it a 3-point game. But they are down 5. That's fine. Chiefs get the ball back. Henny again looks composed, looks fine, except on 1st and 25 after an illegal block.
Crackback block, was it?
Block.
Yeah, that was really. And again, we were cheering for the Browns, but that was still an iffy ass call. There were some iffy ass calls this weekend.
Yeah. Excuse me, I forgot. Because the refs missed 2 catches, Tyreek Hill comes away with a catch on the Browns sideline. It's clear as day at the end that the ball is in the air, and then he catches and he gets control of it. Stefanski is standing right there and throws the challenge.
But on the opposite side of his hip, like if you're looking at it from the field,
it was completely blocked. Yeah, no way you could see it.
And really, in real time, you're like, that bounced off the ground, right? And then you see it, and you're like,
there's no reason it would have come up in the air unless it hit the ground.
No, he kind of like popped it. It was
he popped it up himself with his hands.
So it's a bad challenge from our standpoint because we got to see that. But as fast as they wanted to get up to the line, I guess whatever.
Said it in the moment. I didn't think it was a bad challenge because you had no faith that this crew was making the correct calls on the field, and they were hustling up to get that snap off. And that was a big play. That was a big 3rd down, if I remember correctly. At least it was a shit ton of yards. No, it was 1st down. It was 23-yard completion, though. I mean, it was a big swing. And, this is you're down, this is a 1-score game still. And in the end, it ends up not mattering a ton from the scoreboard standpoint because Henny throws a pick. So it's still 22-17. And you have now the ball at your own 20. There are 7 minutes left in the game, half of a quarter, 8 minutes left. 8 minutes left in the game. You have 8 minutes to go score a touchdown. Okay. What is Stefanski's excuse for the uber conservative play calling on that drive? He was basically thinking to himself, I not only have to score a touchdown, but I have to take the clock to 0-0-0. Was that what he was thinking? Like, how does he come out with some of those? I
guess, yeah, and that's where I had the kind of the same thought. Like, is he trying to make sure the joke is when somebody score too much time in the clock, too much time for Chad Henne, but normally it's like Russell or whoever gets the ball back, but too much time left on the clock. It did kind of feel that way, and obviously not a good way to do things. Sometimes people just overthink things, I think, especially head coaches in the NFL, where it's just like, no, you need to use you can't be whittling down which plays you should use based on how much time you want to take off the clock. This is the time for the best plays. You don't worry about putting some best plays on film for next week. You don't worry about busting something out of the playbook that you didn't want to use. And this is break the glass in case of emergency. This is the season, and they're running just
early down runs. No hope. Yeah, that had no.
And that's not Kevin Stefanski. That's what bothered me the most about that.
No, it never has been. In fact, that was the narrative that a lot of people in media tried to make the Browns were this running team, but that never was really what they were all about. They were good. They were really good running with the lead. But this was an opportunity for them to be aggressive, to drive the field, to really put pressure on the Chiefs to come back and score a field goal, and they didn't do it. And 4th and 9 at the Cleveland 32, they punt. Now, I think this was stupid because if you go for it, you've completely taken the aggressiveness out of Andy Reid's playbook, and he settles for run, run, run. We've taken 2 minutes off the clock. It's the 2-minute warning. We kick a field goal. We're up 8. Okay.
I'd like to push back on that a little because just seeing what they did at the actual end of you're in an alternate reality where they go for it on 4th and don't get it. But in the actual reality, like the play calling, the pass on 4th down, the routes they ran on 3rd and 14, those weren't let's get some yardage back and punt this. Those were let's get this 3rd down with our backup quarterback routes. Like I think Andy Reid
3rd and 14. That wasn't let's clear out enough space and try to get our quarterback to run.
I really don't think that was the initial game plan, was to have a Chad Henne. I mean,
he didn't look like he was going to throw that pass ever.
He was back. Go back and watch that play. He was back there for a while. And if it was a clear out play, that's fine. But I don't think that's a play you call. Is let's get this guy moving the ball with his feet on 4th or 3rd and 14. And you know what? If that was the play call and that was the plan, they cleared out a lot of effing room and it worked. So I disagree that Andy Reid would have been. I feel like what they were doing on offense, the game may have been over anyway, because I think they're able to get a couple first downs down on the other end. I mean, just the game probably ends the same way, except they're in a different part of the field. Really, sure. Truthfully, I don't think the field goal ever happens. The game's over either way. But regardless, you go for the 4th down.
Do you go for the 4th down if you're Andy Reid and you're on your opponent's 22, or do you just take the field goal?
I think he still does. He's an end the game kind of guy.
Okay. All right. Well, a lot more, a lot higher. You're a lot more susceptible to criticism going for 4th down when you could have taken points than you are.
I don't think he gives a shit about criticism. He's the end the game.
Anyway. Okay. So regardless, I say they punt. Chiefs get the first down. They do it on the back of 2 incredible plays. One was the 3rd and 14. Browns let the Chiefs scramble for 13.5 yards, incredibly. Spot I thought was aggressive in favor of the Browns, and then I thought he might have got it, but he didn't. Andy goes for it, but the reason I say with somewhat confidence that was a clear out play and that was a designed quarterback run the whole time. Andy Reid called the entire second half of that game like Pat Mahomes was out there. And I've seen them call that play for Pat Mahomes to get a first down with his legs to ice a game so often.
They even mentioned it. I mean, to your credit, they mentioned it earlier in the game, how many times Patrick Mahomes has run for a first down on 3rd and long.
That is their bread and butter, getting those first downs converted on the ground with Mahomes when it's 3rd and long and everyone's like, we got to prevent
I'm
a 20-yard.
I'm not sure any of those are called runs. It's just no. I think he has the option because of the clear out where you have great receivers.
It's a good elite. It's a good plan A, plan B.
Two-headed attack. You have an elite tight end and great receivers. If one of them gets separation, you're golden. If not, you've cleared out like 8 yards of space for somebody with usually a good foot. So it's Andy Reid doesn't give an F. He as Ryan says, he would he says font give an F. Can't even type. But I think he goes for 4. Just the fact that he was, I mean, you're making my point for me. How aggressive he was play calling with Henne in there. I think he goes for 4th down. If it's 4th and 1 at like the 20, I think he ends the game. Just end the game. Like he's an end the game guy. So
okay. I think a lot of incentives change if the Chiefs have the ball starting at their own at the Cleveland 32. I think that drive ends in a field goal and 2 minutes off the clock. But regardless, Browns never see the ball back. Kevin Stefanski's gonna regret a lot of the way that the last 8 minutes played out in that game, because it ended with a 4-minute. You killed the clock on yourself and got 1 first down, and then you give the ball back with 4 minutes to go, and you never saw it again.
It was the opposite of how a normal team should be thinking. If you just have 2 like average coaches, the coach who was behind was very conservative, and the coach with the lead was super aggressive at the end, calling that. I love that pass play, the little stupid pass play that they called on
fourth and one to Hill. Everything about that was beautiful. The way they set it up,
just
the way
the fact that
snapping it with 5 seconds left. I literally was like, "Wow, we are really going to go through this again, where we try to get a team offsides to convert a fourth."
They fooled everyone.
Again? Really, we're really going to do this?
Yeah,
and then they snapped it with 4 seconds to go, and it was like, "Oh."
They sold that. They sold that so well because nobody moved. Even and Romo is fooled, and like everybody. I mean, he's like they're not snapping this. They're not. And the way they're standing, like everyone was just kind of standing there, and they weren't moving, and it looked like one of those classic. We're just gonna snap it a bunch. Everyone's been told, "Don't you fucking move a muscle. We're not snapping this ball," and then. And then they go and do that, and it was that's what made it amazing.
Yeah, the way that they pulled it off, it had 100% chance to succeed. I know Tyreek Hill could bobble it and drop it or something stupid, but he's Tyreek Hill. He's got just out of this world hands. He's not going to drop that. So I don't know. Well done by them. You want to win games in the playoff, you have to have balls like that. They do it. I thought it was very, very well done by all. And the Cleveland Browns cover the 10. The second half under never really threatened at all. 28.
Yeah, even though we missed the best of the number, any number cashed in the second half under.
Yeah. So Kansas City, Buffalo, we'll get to in a bit. Obviously, the key questions all revolve around Mahomes' neck and foot, head, neck, and foot, I guess. The nightcap, disappointing way for Drew Brees to end his career, but probably ultimately not going to change anybody's opinion on him one way or the other. He was just kind of a guy that compiled a lot of stats and was very, very good throughout his entire long, awesome career. Never really felt like he was going to be the difference for the Saints team this season, right?
Yeah, it's a couple guys who've proved that they could, I don't want to put him in the same stratosphere as what Russell Wilson can do in multiple facets of his game, but kudos to short quarterbacks. Like that was a knock on him like 20 years ago, if people remember Drew Brees coming out of college, but he did it. It was weird. Remember, he was in San Diego for a little bit. Goofiness. Yeah. That was
San Diego traded their pick to the Falcons to draft Mike Vick. They took LaDainian Tomlinson, and then with the first pick in the second round, they took Drew Brees.
That was a long, long, long time ago. It feels like it was a long time ago, but either way, yeah, a good career. He was a great quarterback. He's not in that stratosphere of, the best of all time. He was great, but yeah, it was a lot of compiling of stats over many, many years with a really good coach, a good coaching staff. I mean, he had Peyton for almost all of his career, minus the San Diego years and the 1 year Peyton was suspended for being a scumbag. But yeah, real good. It's tough to see a guy go out like that, but I don't think people remember that. And somebody brought up the Marino. Like Marino lost like 60-5 in his last game. People don't remember that.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah. People remember.
I'm kidding.
Obviously, I don't remember. The highlights. People are going to remember him holding his kid at the Super Bowl with the headphones on. People are going to remember the connections he's made with all these receivers over the years. It's like you remember Marino for the fake snap and some of the stuff he did.
Oh yeah,
which is great. Yeah. So, but Jameis looked better.
Yeah, well,
I love the trick play.
We'll spend some good amount of time talking about the Saints and their future in the offseason. I don't really know what they ought to do, but this is, I guess, going to this game specifically. Is it fair to say Brady succeeded in spite of the coaching?
Yeah, the coaching wasn't great. It was kudos to the defense. It was, I'd say, partly the defense, partly Breeze. They weren't all completely his fault. The one was a weird deflection off the receiver, but the other defender got in the way and kind of caused some interference, not in the penalty sense, but some interference by getting his hands up, and the ball knocked off the receiver's like shoulder blade and went up or collarbone really, and went up in the air. But kudos to that defense, the fumble recovery, the picks, getting Brady set up in short fields, because Tampa wasn't great. Like they scored on short fields. Essentially, New Orleans wins that game as much as Tampa should win that game, if not more. New Orleans was much better on defense. I felt like they just didn't get the turnovers. I don't think they got a turnover. So you lose the turnover battle like that, you're not going to win a game against a team that you're maybe 3 or 4 points better on, at home. So super, super rough ending for them because they probably should be in the title game. But at the same time, I think it's probably, it's a worse coach, but it's better quarterback, better offense. I'm more excited to see Brady Rodgers than Brady.
By a lot.
By quite a bit. So
by a lot. Yeah. We talked about it at halftime. The best outcome for football fans was Brady and the Bucs going through. Breeze, I think it was crazy in hindsight how quickly that turned, because it was 20-13. They had a 7-point lead. They stopped the Bucs. They're driving. And of course, a guy that I've complained to you about constantly this season, Jared Cook, catches the ball, and he has so little respect for securing that football. There has been so many times I've had a Saints position
loaf of bread,
either in game or pregame or halftime, and you see Jared Cook running around with that thing, way out or just exposed, and of course, that
Shady McCoy style. Just
yes, yeah, just like, well, I don't care what happens to this thing, and of course he fumbles, and that ends up being an enormously important momentum killer, drive stopper. Bucs get the ball inside Saints territory, short field. They score a touchdown, 20-20, and at that point, now you're thinking, okay, well, now the Bucs realistically need to don't let Jared Cook. Now the Bucs realistically need to, the Saints need to make this a field goal game and hold on and try to kick the game-winning. The last field goal wins here. But yeah, Breeze can't do it. He can't do the simple stuff, which is the reason you have him there in the first place, which is show the high efficiency short passes. He couldn't do it. There was a pick. The first pick was bad. It was on him. The second pick was obviously not. But either way, it didn't matter.
Pressure in his face in the first one, but throwing it to that spot was awful. It right to a guy.
Yeah,
and the second one wasn't his fault, but for the most part, it was shit. After the turnovers, it was shit. Some people complained about some of the refs. It was funny because this is what becomes when you get to playoff football or high leverage football with fans. I've seen people complaining just as hard for both sides. There was someone saying Tampa was getting so screwed. There was somebody that was amazed that the refs were so in Tampa's pocket. What? We can't have it both ways, guys. What's going on? The refs are equally bad for everybody. They were complaining, they took a touchdown off the board with that block. No, the guy's back was to him when he pushed him, and it was right by the ball carrier. It was pretty clearly something they call every single Sunday. They're not going to let you get away with a block in the back right where the ball carrier is. So
yeah, honestly, I was confused because when they announced that call, they gave the wrong number, and so every time I watched the replay, I was looking out for number 38, and I'm like, he didn't do anything, but it was 98 or whatever. Anyway, and it was a clear block in the back. Clear as day. The refereeing was a little biased in favor of New Orleans, but not so much that it changed the game whatsoever, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
Fundamentally, it came down to New Orleans defense played well. The Bucs offense continues to be stymied by their own decision-making, their own sequencing, their own play design. It's not good. Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich are hamstringing this team, and Brady is overcoming it. It's incredible to see. And I have not been a Brady stan this year at all. I was very, very unclear if this was the right fit between personnel and team. Brady has been outstanding the last half of this season. He is throwing perfect balls. Anytime he is not under significant duress from the middle of the field, he is delivering strikes, and it is cool to see him perform at this level at this stage in his career.
His arm is fine.
Hat tip to him and his team for keeping him in such amazing shape, and really for getting for everything that they're doing for the Bucs, getting these players back on the field. I see Vita Vea amazingly is coming back from a broken ankle.
The energy that Tom has injected into this team really has been something, especially when it comes to recovery. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. And honestly,
And playoff Lenny. Fuck's sakes, as
Well,
much as you,
okay,
as much as you shit on Leonard Fournette.
What?
Like, yeah, he has fresh legs. He hasn't run in 3 years. Like,
are you looking at stats to just say that his impact on the game was positive?
no, I mean, it wasn't negative. He was fine. Playoff Lenny was overblown, but he wasn't bad. He wasn't like a hindrance that we've seen. I mean, how
That's
many
true.
times
He
have we
wasn't
been-
a,
how
he
many-
wasn't an enormous minus sign, which he
Yeah,
has been.
we've seen him in the past where it's like, stop giving him the ball.
Just
He has like
enormous
1.4 yards per carry.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't that bad. I agree. But the idea that their fortunes in this playoffs, they think it hangs on how well Leonard Fournette is doing and how many touches they give him is insane to me. I can't believe that that's how you're going to go to war here with Leonard Fournette when you have this embarrassment of riches in the passing offense and Tom Brady throwing fucking darts.
It looked really good.
I guess my major takeaways for the game: Brady is on fire. Brady's offensive line is playing very, very well, and in general, they're kind of healthy offensively. Weapons in general.
There's an Antonio Brown MRI today.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I forgot about that.
Which,
the defense.
if he's out, you still have 2 high-end receivers. Christ's sakes, Braid's the better tight end right now. You have 2 good tight ends. We don't even talk about Scotty and Tyler Johnson. Like, they have so many good receivers. It is an embarrassment of riches. So it is funny that they're getting Fournette as many touches as they are. Maybe it's a surprise factor. Like, man, look at all these receivers. They're not going to really hand off to Lenny, are they? And then shit, here comes Lenny.
Dude, Scotty Miller. Patrick's making a great point here. He made a better move than I've seen Antonio Brown make all season.
Scotty Miller's good. Tyler Johnson is good.
Third down. Tyler Johnson made an amazing catch. Scotty Miller made a killer move to get separation and convert a key third down for the Bucs. Realistically, this offense is going to be a challenge for the Packers defense. And the Bucs defense in this game, I didn't think they came in with the greatest the greatest plan.
No.
Right? Like they got their pants pulled down.
The plan was to have 30-yard fields the whole game.
They got their pants pulled down on the most obvious trick play that I've seen in a while. You mean Jameis Winston is on the field for Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara is taking a direct snap? I'm sure this is just a very standard. This is a very standard off-guard run. Yeah, could keep your eye on your gaps, boys. No, that was
gap integrity.
Obviously going to be an attack down the field.
Fun troll job that they used the same play that the Bears couldn't convert. They threw it at a better spot. They had a lot more room to work with, and he threw it perfectly. He threw it right on line. He was perfect. I mean, he beat coverage perfect. That was awesome.
So, but the Bucs defense made it. They made some key. They took the ball. The key takeaways in the second half. That's what they did to Rodgers, by the way, in game 1. They knew that Brees was not going to beat them down the field. So they got real aggressive on that short intermediate stuff and they made it count. And that's all you can really ask for. Todd Bowles made some nice in-game adjustments. Overall, the Bucs defense did fine. I don't think they're as good as what we saw. I don't think they're as good as what we saw in the holding the Saints to 20 points in that game. A lot of that was on Drew Brees and the turnovers. We got let's get into the openers now, or really the NFC.
There's only two games to talk about. One is basically a hard guessing game at what the books, and I mean, if you want to explain, because you explained this better than I did, explain why you believe, and I believe you're right, the books think Mahomes is more likely to play than not to play. You have it at 60-40 according to the numbers, what you said before.
I said 90-10.
Who said 60-40? All right, if you say 90-10, I think that's a bit aggressive, but explain yourself, Drew.
A fair market price was determined before this game started, and it's Kansas City -3.5. And a price currently of Kansas City -3 tells me that there is about 90% confidence Mahomes goes. And I think a lot of that is speculative based on rumor, innuendo, stuff coming out of the building, optimism among Chiefs fans, optimism among Chiefs backers, optimism among, Chiefs personnel probably, and what they're telling people, right? I mean, there's a lot of optimism that he goes, and it's reflected in the number. If this is -3 now currently. And there's been a decent amount of support on this week. Today there's been a decent amount of more support for Kansas City based on everything coming out. I think it's the market reflects a 90% chance Mahomes goes. Now, a lot of the market action, like I mentioned on one of the scopes we did last night, they took a lot of action on Buffalo outside of the 3 at 5.5, 4.5, 3.5. And when they opened Buffalo as a small favorite, a lot of people, took their opportunity to capture that middle, which is why there was such a violent correction when there really was no information. But now that there is information, the move from 2.5 to 3 tells you that the probability of Mahomes going is 90%. Do you agree?
I'd say 70-30, just because they're hanging it on kind of a bit of a safe number, aren't they? They didn't go full 3.5, and they did take money to get to here, where a lot of places did open this like pick, and lower limits, and they wanted to test the waters. But I would agree. I mean, I agree. I think Mahomes is playing. I think the market agrees. It's really hard to give it a percentage like that. But
they're in a hugely advantaged.
I'm probably
position.
close there.
They're in a hugely advantaged position because a market fair of 3.5 includes a Chiefs tax.
Yeah.
Right. So they're actually probably pretty close to what an actual fair is at 3. So they're in a very nice position where they can hang this at 3 and take, right action each way on a fair number. And if Mahomes moves to 3.5, they're going to write a shit ton of KC -3.5 tickets on Sunday. So, I think that's probably this is going to be a good weekend to be a bookmaker.
I think it doesn't matter what they did or what they'll do. They're going to be underwater in Chiefs money. Yeah. Unless this gets up to like 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could see resistance at 3.5, 4. There'll be people.
I don't think it gets past 3.5. Honestly.
No, there'll be people. There'll be enough money that'll want 3.5 and 4 that would bounce back quickly. But I think either way, they're going to be needing the Bills.
They're taking 10K right now on Chiefs -3. They're taking only 3K on the total of 54. That's another good indicator that Mahomes is 90%. That total's not 54 if this is more than a 10% chance that Chad Henne comes out of that tunnel, right?
Yeah. It's probably lower. So
yeah.
No, that it's interesting. I took a 3. I'm just gonna say it. I think he plays. I'm gonna take a 3.
Kansas City, you're on the Chiefs?
I took it. I think they're fine. I like going back to what we said. I like the aggressiveness at the end. I like this team. There's not much to say about it. I make it like 4. So I'm fine taking a flat 3. I got a cheap 3 today. And I don't know if it moves much. I don't know if it mattered how early I grabbed it. I'm going to sit and stake a flag on it. I like the Bills, but man, we are just, as much as I love Josh Allen and the steps forward he's taken, he still does have some questionable decisions. He's liable to throw a bad ball here too, and you can't do that in a game. I mean, it might be similar to what we saw with the Raiders games, where it's just a back and forth, and 1 or 2 bad balls, especially if it's a turnover, are going to end up with you losing by 10. The Buffalo defense is nothing to write home about.
I agree. Okay. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. If you want, so basically, market prediction 3 is going to go to 3.5, and
the total goes to 56.
Total goes to 56.
Yeah.
Snow, wind.
I don't see wind. I'm seeing snow, and if snow gets in, maybe some people will believe the snow is enough to drive the total down. I didn't see wind. I was seeing just snow. So I think it's always a little windy out there in the plains, but not crazy.
A wintry mix is possible. I'm seeing winds of 7 miles an hour with winds gusts of 21.
Yeah, that's just the Midwest in the winter.
Yeah. Okay. Tampa Bay, Green Bay is the first of the 2 games. Maybe a lot more to sink your teeth into here from a handicapping standpoint. We've seen this come down from 4 to 3.5. I think it goes to 3. Have we talked about this? Did I already tell you this?
No, but I would, those numbers they opened like 3 for, we talked about Why would they open pretty much the same exact number for Tampa or New Orleans when they had hypotheticals up before the game was played? Green Bay had won, and we'd seen a line for 3 on either one. And again, lower limits, look ahead stuff. But at the same time, I thought, well, that's probably fair, right? If you want to make it 3, and just I guess putting up 30 points against the Saints might drive some more hunger for Tampa. And again, there's going to be weird money that comes in once you get this far into any playoffs. Once you get to the championship round, there's going to be big ass bets hedging against big ass futures. And that's where I wonder what we'll see in Green Bay, because Green Bay was, they weren't way down, but they weren't one of the top favorites in the NFC. They were co-favorites to win the North with the Vikings. I'm guessing 20, 25 to 1 to win, whereas Tampa was, some people had 35. So you might see it on both sides, but with all the excitement and all the people that took big positions on Tampa futures, you could see some Green Bay money line, Green Bay, whatever people. I wouldn't expect somebody would tease it for any reasonable amount across zero to hedge something. That's not really an option with this number, but you do see some big money coming in, hedging off some of these futures. I don't know how much that affects the market. Probably not all that much.
Green Bay was 30 to 1 to win the Super Bowl on
30 to 1
on September 7th. Tampa
so
Bay
maybe,
was 10 to 1.
Yeah, like over the summer, Tampa was the big number.
We know people that got in before Brady was confirmed to the Bucs at 60 to 1 and 40 to 1.
Yeah. So I don't know how much people were able to get down on that if they're actually looking to hedge huge
tens of thousands for sure.
Yeah, there are some tickets out there that are pretty big. So it's always interesting to see what what some of these tickets you get to see this week on social media for some of these huge prices when somebody like Buffalo wasn't, I'm sure they weren't a small number going into the season. It was, and then pre-Brady news, that kind of affects both at championship games. Before Brady moved, obviously Buffalo's number wasn't the same. When he was still a New England quarterback, things were quite different. So I'll be curious to see if somebody has some massive Buffalo tickets. That would be fun.
Buffalo was 30 to 1 also.
Yeah.
At season kickoff. Kansas City was plus 450.
So yeah, your favorites were probably Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks,
Ravens were 5 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. The Cowboys were 12 to 1. Niners were 10 to 1.
Yeah. None of those teams ain't none of those teams around right now, but
no.
Yeah, from a handicapping standpoint, I guess it is all the nice things we just said about all these wide receivers and how Tom Brady's passing the ball, the touch he's putting on it, the accuracy, the reads he's making, getting it to the right guys. It seems like every time. The Green Bay defense is not great, but more susceptible against the run. Is it playoff Lenny time again?
It seems likely, right?
Honestly, the way they were willing to use him, I bet you see him a bunch because he'll probably be successful against this rush defense.
He's got the right matchup.
This guy raises a very interesting point about Kansas City being minus 105 at WinBet.
Ooh, interesting.
That's a good price.
That is a good price. Cheaper than offshore. So I am not saying that the Buccaneers are the right side.
At 4, they might be. Jesus.
At 4, yes. I'm just telling you that I think it's likely that goes down to 3. I think that game goes off at Green Bay minus 3. That's my educated guess. I think it is likely that the Chiefs go off at 3.5 or 4. So do with that information what you will in terms of planning your market entry, because that's important. These are games right around a field goal. It's going to be important to get the right best of the number. Totals.
If it's 4, the game is 4. I make it a 3. Like this one is 4, I make it a 3. The other one's 3, I make it a 4. These are close. Like they're all fairly close. So don't I don't know how nuts you want to get on this weekend. There's especially when there's the magnitudes of how many props you had to play.
Last year was 1 billion times easier to handicap championship.
We just we're gonna bet on the 49ers.
There's orders of magnitude easier last year than this year. These are very tough, sophisticated handicaps, somewhat coin flippy.
Yeah.
Couple things to point out: Buccaneers 3rd week in a row on the road. Buccaneers warm weather team going to play outside. Obviously, Tom Brady is familiar with playing outdoors in January, but a lot of those other guys like the warm weather. So
his blood thinned out, though, he said.
I think we can get Alex Guerrero on that real quick. Let's thicken up that blood.
Thicken up that blood.
I think 54 on Bills Chiefs goes up, especially as we get more and more positive news likely on Mahomes.
Yeah.
I think 50 and a half for the Bucks and the Packers goes down.
Yeah. And you know what? If Antonio Brown, if that injury turns out to be bad, that might be a cause for it, and it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, no.
It shouldn't be, but it might. So I would agree. If you want that under, I would bet that now. If you want the over, just because we do believe Mahomes will play, I think both of those will move.
Do you think that there's going to be some market signal this week that's just totally bullshit? Like not information? Yeah.
Every week we've had that in the playoffs. So it's just like the Rams money.
This seems like a weekend where that might be even more so, though. I gotta guess. Who knows? Okay.
Andy Reid just did his presser stuff.
Oh yeah, it didn't move the number.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, he did. He did.
We have news. Like he is in protocol, so we'll just have to see how that progresses from here.
Right now on Sunday, the forecast calls for 35% chance of snow, 26 degrees, winds 10 miles an hour, wind gusts of 23 miles an hour, 95% cloud cover. That's about what they were calling for last week, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it actually turned out a little warmer. I think it was closer to 40. Not a bad day up in Green Bay in January, all things considered. If it's cold, it's cold. You know, Tom has played plenty of cold weather games. I'll never forget the Raiders playoff game. I can tell you where I was watching that. It was amazing. Fuck, that Vinatieri way back. My God. That was Balco days for the Raiders. Old school. Speaking of Alex Guerrero, I think Alex Guerrero, you talk coaching trees, he might be in the Balco coaching tree. I'm not sure how that all worked out. We'll figure it out down the road. But yeah, if it's a cold weather game, obviously it's slight advantage to Green Bay but I mean, it's kind of baked in, right?
It's advantage Green Bay.
Yeah.
Although it's, you know what it is? It's advantage playoff Lenny. And
a little advantage. Both they will be having fans again, spread out. But it did get pretty loud at some of these games last weekend where they had fans. Like, especially it felt like shit. There's a lot of people at Buffalo. Like it got really loud at certain points. So that's fun. I've enjoyed that. I'm all for let's try to be safe and not do anything stupid. But Christ, I love the roar of the crowd. That's been great.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. Well,
and it's a big part of why home field matters.
I got a lot of work to do to try to flesh out an edge in either of these games. Don't really have a position right now. Haven't made a bet yet. Probably just going to fade some steam at some point. I don't have a strong read on this week at all. We'll see.
No, it's a tough week, and maybe we will dig into some props.
Just get some good games, some real
good,
tight
close games.
Real good close games. Is that asking for too much?
A couple of 1-point victories.
Yeah,
actually, four for the couple of 4-point
Chiefs
victories.
by 4, Packers by 4. That's fine with me. Yeah,
that'd be a good. And again, we mentioned this. We can't. There's no situation where we don't have a cool Super Bowl now.
That's true.
We'll have
Super Bowl will be good. Period.
I mean, essentially, I'm trying to think if we're leaving anybody out, but Diggs, Adams, Tyreek, and I mean, pick your
Everyone, yeah, Evans,
everyone
Godwin,
on Tampa. Like
yeah.
you're going to have a couple of high-end top 5 elite receivers.
Mhm.
You're going to have
Average
high-end,
defenses.
an average. You're not going to have like Tampa's the best defense left, and
Are
they're probably
I don't have a good signal on the Packers because
No,
they played such an easy schedule.
Packers defense is weird. They have some players that can flash, but I don't think they're good. I'm not saying Tampa's defense is great, but they're the best one left.
You bring up a great point.
So there's no good defenses left. This is
I got a
fun.
lot of. I got some. I'm starting to think out some betting angles now. This is working. Okay, all right. We'll think a lot more about this. We got some more. We'll do
We have a
we're
great
looking forward
guest
to this
coming
week's
up
talk.
on Wednesday. We'll do this normal time, 8 Eastern on YouTube only. So if you don't subscribe to YouTube yet, pop over there, follow us on that, and we will be. When is the Pro Bowl game, Shane? There's no Pro Bowl game. There's a goddamn pandemic going on. And they've just said, like, the Pro Bowl is so dumb anyway. Why are we going to do it when we have this, all the protocol and testing? So they're just going to honor people for making the Pro Bowl instead, which is probably, honestly, I hope that's something that that continues. So I will, I'll be cheering for a Green Bay Kansas City Super Bowl. I think that's the most fun.
Yeah.
And if you're from Minnesota, extra motivation to cheer for Tampa because of Tyler Johnson and Antoine Winfield. They drafted half the Gophers last year. And if you're from Buffalo, jump through some tables, get excited. It just might be your time.
Good stuff. All right. Well, we'll be back on Wednesday. Best of luck to you between now and then.
And hit the music.
Virtual Pro Bowl.
They should play it on Madden.
How that's exciting.
3 days left to get your sweatshirt. Ryan says so.